What a fun day when
Look at
guests
this.
show up in between us. Hi, Cliff.
Hey,
Thanks
good
for
to be
being
back.
here.
Good to be back.
So what's the, you used to do morning weather. What's it going to do, Cliff? What's it going to do? I need some guidance here. I need some wisdom.
Okay, we
It's
should
not going to be a Goldilocks day tomorrow.
There you go.
There you
Perfect.
Go. That's
Thank
my
you.
forecast.
more tips off camera, right? Cliff is here because you have a new book.
Yep.
It's called Straight from the Shoulder. Comes out on December 5th, which is really soon.
Yep. And it's a little different than the other 3 books that I've written. It's not a travel book. It's about my career in broadcasting. And as Paul Harvey would say, it tells you the rest of the story. Because you know, and you probably know as well, some of the really interesting stuff never makes it into the TV.
That is so true.
Yeah. So why did you decide, I'm going to write a book? Were you bored? You had stories to tell?
Well, I just thought, people should know what goes on behind the scenes, and it's not all fun and games. There are some light moments. I talk about how I got pranked by Clint Eastwood, and
Well, that's a big one.
But Dapple is coming up in 10 years. It's the 10-year anniversary next August, and that was not fun. And we reported what we saw, but other news agencies reported what they thought they saw.
So before we get to that, I want to start with you
Yeah.
and your kind of history with pictures.
Yes, I grew up in North Dakota, obviously, and had the 1950s, 1960s childhood experience where you ran the neighborhood and just be back by lunch and then be back by dark. And
who's this little guy?
there I am.
Oh,
That's my 5-year-old painting.
Love this.
Back
painting.
then, color pictures were expensive, and we had 6 kids, so my parents decided that until we got in school, we would only shoot 1 childhood picture of each kid.
Can you imagine?
And they decided on the 5th year, and all my brothers and I wore the same little brown sweater and bow tie and white shirt, and all the girls wore a red dress. On their 5th birthday, they had, and this is a painting. It's not a color photo. It's a black and white photo that has somebody did the oil painting over it to make it into a color photo.
Where do you fall in the line of 6 kids?
I'm number 2.
I'm
number 2.
So how do you go from that to playing Santa or being Santa? I mean, there's a difference here.
I was one of Santa's helpers in Williston. They needed someone to fill in on the show and read letters that were sent to Santa at KUMV. So I volunteered, and I have a sense of humor, so I had fun with it. And it was a great experience. The kids, of course, loved it because everybody tuned in to see if their letter was going to be read to Santa.
So it was on
live.
the news?
It was
Wow.
live television. Yes, Santa came down. Yeah. So that was a very fun experience, and did that for a couple of years up in Williston.
So your career, you spent some time in Williston, you spent some time in Idaho, you started in Montana, spent a good chunk of it here.
Here in Bismarck, the lion's share, 30 years here in Bismarck.
And a good chunk of it behind the camera.
Yes. As a photographer, did some reporting, obviously, the off the beaten path stuff, and was in the weather department for a while doing morning weather. So, I had a well-rounded career. I talk about everything, how I got into weather, how I got into off the beaten path, how what I did when I was a photographer. I would get into some crazy situations to get the shot. And here I am at Dapple.
You did.
And this was the last day that the camp was occupied, and everything was burned that could be burned. And Dwayne was down there with me, and they had hundreds of propane tanks there, and it was like fireworks. So you'd hear all this popping when the fire went by one of those propane tanks and lit it on fire. But there was a protest almost every day. And Dwayne, I, Donna, we all got sent down to do maybe there were 2 protests.
A front seat to history.
Yes,
for
yes.
sure. Tell us really quickly, because we're running out of time, where we can get your book.
Well, it'll be available here at KFYR. And it'll also be available at Barnes & Noble in Minot and in Bismarck, and starting December 5th.
Okay.
I need an autographed copy. I know that.
Yes, we could talk all
Can't
day,
wait.
but we got to go to break. Thanks, Cliff.
All right.